friends, and welcome back to 109.4. I'm your host, Ellie, and I'll be bringing you the scoop on global issues. While many of us in the developed world have access to fresh and clean water whenever we please, access to clean drinking water is one of the greatest concerns in developing countries. In these communities, basic facilities for water sanitation and sewage plants are harder to find than a microscopic needle in a massive haystack. In Africa and Southern Asia, the number of people struggling with unsafe water add up to 1/3 of our population, or 2.5 billion people, according to the NIH. In these areas, a vast number of people rely on groundwater or murky rivers. The water in these sources is often tainted by sewage or chemical runoff, which changes the color, taste, and smell of the water. But these people are often too desperate for water to care. According to the CDC, when people ingest this toxic water, they are also ingesting deadly diseases like malaria, cholera, dysentery, and tapeworms. Because of these people having to resort to drinking this toxic water, there are 250 million people infected with waterborne illnesses each year and 20 million deaths. 7.6 million of those are in children. To get an idea of how bad this crisis truly is, the CDC provides startling statistics, one of them being that 2,200 children die every day from waterborne illnesses around the world. This equates to 2 children dying every minute of every day. Not only is unclean water deadly, but it's also extremely costly. The places with unclean water are stuck in a vicious loop of poverty, illness, and death that they are unable to get out of on their own. Waterborne illnesses are extremely costly to treat and have raised the cost of medical care to an unbelievably high amount, especially for the impoverished countries that a majority of waterborne illnesses occur in. According to the CDC, waterborne illnesses cost the health industry $539 million every year. In these poor communities, the cost of maintaining well-working sewage and sanitation plants as well as medical facilities on their own is far too expensive, so they often go without. Unclean water in impoverished areas is responsible for many disease outbreaks, and since the people in these areas don't have resources to treat the infected well, if at all, they often have to leave them to die. And without the proper education of how to dispose of waste from the ill, they are often kept near a water source where the disease can run into the water and keep the infections coming. When you look past the disease and expensive unclean water, you'll find yet another one of its monsters lurking in the shadows: uneducated children. When families need water, the women and children of the household are often the ones sent to gather it. They often have to travel upwards of 4 miles both ways to get water multiple times a day. Under the heavy burden of collecting water for their families, 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 6 boys are left uneducated and unprepared for their future. Not only does collecting water take away from their chances for education, getting ill from unclean water takes away even more of their chances for a full and fair education. Without proper medical treatment, waterborne illnesses have a long recovery time if the infected are able to recover at all, which means that any day that they don't have to collect water and would be able to go to school or to work is taken away from them if they or a family member falls ill. When these people are left uneducated, they have no knowledge or means to get out of their situation, and unless someone from the outside helps them, they'll continue to be stuck there. And while this desperate situation seems hopeless, every year it's slightly decreasing in severity as organizations like Living Water International build wells, water treatment facilities, and provide an education to the uneducated, which helps to loosen the tight and seemingly unrelenting grasp of unclean water and waterborne illnesses. To understand how this helps, it has been found out by Living Water International that in places where there is access to basic sanitation, the cases and deaths of waterborne illnesses are shown to drop drastically in that area. And with the source of clean water nearby included, the trek for water is cut down and people can get stable jobs and educations, which helps the community climb out of its poverty. However, in the most remote areas of the world, communities remain stuck in the grasp of endless disease and poverty since they are so hard to reach under regular circumstances, with the current global pandemic and travel into and out of countries being banned. They're near impossible to get to and help. But with help from water-giving and well-building organizations, as well as the willing and able around the world, they're becoming less unreachable and will soon have the clean water they need to thrive. though for some, help can't come soon enough. In the time it took for you to listen to this information, it was already too late for 10 children too many.